Madam Speaker, I rise to acknowledge and commend His Excellency the President for his address on 12 September, formally opening the 2016 session of the Parliament. In his speech, His Excellency referred to the disproportionate role that Fiji is taking in drawing global attention to the urgent need to confront the challenges of climate change. But, Madam Speaker, this is only the most prominent aspect of Fiji's international engagement across a broad front. In that respect, I have spent the past week in New York with the United Nations General Assembly, playing a key role in the global frameworks and agreements that Fiji has, in many ways, helped to influence. As you know, Madam Speaker, Fiji has assumed the presidency of the General Assembly for the first time under Ambassador Peter Thompson, and it was a very proud moment for our nation and the other Pacific Island countries. In my address to the General Assembly, I highlighted the urgent need for a more radical response by the international community to deal with the effects of climate change, and in particular, the extreme weather events like Tropical Cyclone Winston that I had said had given Fijians a terrifying glimpse into the future that awaits us all because of global warming. Madam Speaker, we are facing the prospect of more frequent and more intense cyclones like Winston that have the potential to kill many more of our people and wipe out our economy in the event of a direct hit. And Pacific Island nations are pressing the global community to put a cap of 1.5 degrees on global warming over the pre-industrial age, rather than the 2% agreed to under the Paris Agreement of last November. Madam Speaker, I also stressed to the other 192 members countries of the UN the importance of the high-level conference of oceans on oceans and seas that Fiji is co-sponsoring with Sweden in New York next June. We must reverse the current threat to our seas posed by pollution, overfishing, and the loss of marine habitat. In this context, Madam Speaker, I want to draw the attention of the House to an absurd claim made recently by the NFP party president and suspended member, the Honorable Tupou Nronidala. I almost fell off my chair when I heard her say that the Itoke are disadvantaged in Fiji. And I almost fell through the floor when I heard her plead with the Indo-Fijians to support the Itoke to reverse this supposed disadvantage and get Fiji first out of government. Madam Speaker, what disadvantage? There is none. And it is astonishing that an educated person like the suspended member, a lawyer as well as president of the NFP, could make such an outrageous claim. Astonishing and irresponsible. Because, Madam Speaker, the honourable member is doing precisely what His Excellency the President appealed to us not to do, to peddle false information and create fear among ordinary people. There is no justification whatsoever for a statement. Unfortunately, the days when such an outrageous claim takes hold and becomes widely accepted are over. The overwhelming majority of the Itoke are far too smart to be swayed by this crude scaremongering. They know the honourable member is not telling the truth because they can see for themselves all around them that their position has never been stronger. They know they have ownership of 91% of the land in Fiji, and that ownership is guaranteed in perpetuity by our constitution, which also guarantees the protection of Itoke customs and traditions. They know that more Itoke young people than ever before are benefiting from our education revolution. Whether it is the free schooling this government is providing for the first time, or the tertiary loans and scholarships that are enabling all Fijians to get a higher education in our universities and technical colleges. They know that more Itoke than ever before have access to such things as healthcare, water, electricity, and our first pensions. They know that more Itoke than ever before have jobs, good jobs, sustainable jobs, because we are managing the economy better than ever before and are in our 7th straight year of economic expansion. So, Madam Speaker, why is the President of the NFP peddling this false information, trying to create fear among ordinary Tokay when there's no cause to fear anything at all? There is only one possible answer, given the complete lack of evidence to support her claim, because she thinks the Tokay are stupid. She insults their intelligence, just as the party insults our democratic institutions and our head of state. Madam Speaker, let me inform the nation of the truth, and it is what Fiji's representative to the United Nations in Geneva told the 33rd session of the Human Rights Council about the rights of our indigenous people in a statement 6 days ago. And I quote, "Fiji is privileged that its indigenous, the Tokay, are well protected under the Constitution. Our Constitution preamble acknowledges at the outset the unique position they hold in Fiji. Fiji is acutely aware that the Tokay culture is unique to Fiji and is the foundation stone of the survival and growth of our indigenous community. Land is especially protected, with 91% of Fiji's land being held in trust for the indigenous population. The rights of children, the right to health, education, housing, water and sanitation, the rights of persons with disabilities, all guaranteed in our Constitution, together with the right to economic participation and right to work with just minimum wage. Fijian citizens under our Constitution enjoy the right to a clean and healthy environment. All these rights are protected for all persons, regardless of ethnicity." Unquote. Madam Speaker, I repeat, the Tokay are not disadvantaged in any way at all, and to say otherwise is a lie. The rights of the Tokay are guaranteed in the Constitution more than ever before, for all time. And at the same time, it upholds the rights of all Fijians on our fundamental premise of all democracies, which is equality of opportunity, of everyone being taken on our journey forward in a spirit of unity and inclusion. Madam Speaker, let me be very clear about the differences of opinion on this issue between those of us on this side, or on that side of the House, and those opposite. Those opposite in Sodelpa and the suspended fellow traveler, the President of the NFP, believe that the Tokay should be given special advantages. Should be given special advantages, special privileges over other citizens. Whereas we, this side of the House and that side of the House, believe in the concept of universal advantage, of every Fijian getting the best possible level of service and assistance the government can afford, irrespective of who you are or where you come from in Fiji, and on the basis of need, with the most help going to the most vulnerable, low-income earners, the disabled, the elderly, the sick, our women, and our children. Let me again read from the submission to the Human Rights Council, because it goes to the heart of what we believe in over here as opposed to what they believe in over there. And I quote, "Indigenous rights cannot be used to justify a monopoly over power, nor must indigenous rights be used to create a community of privilege which survives only out of a sense of entitlement. Fiji does not want a society made up of the creamy layer of privilege based on birth. Poverty and disadvantage in Fiji's experience cut across all ethnic and cultural groups. They must be defeated by free and equal access to education and by the creation of a meritocracy which rewards performance and ability." Unquote. Madam Speaker, that is the new Fiji, and there is no turning back. Not because the government says so, but it is the will of the Fijian people, freely expressed at the last election and enshrined in the Constitution on which the election was held and that the people also endorsed. I appeal to those opposite to heed the words of His Excellency the President about the need to promote unity rather than division. I especially appeal to those individuals and you know who you are, who use every opportunity to sow ethnic and religious division, because the nation is watching and is no longer in any mood to tolerate your behavior. Madam Speaker, a wonderful thing has happened since we last gathered in ordinary session. Our Rugby Sevens gold medal win in Rio has united us as a nation as never before. And it has fired our imaginations about what is possible for a small nation that thinks big. Whether it is on the rugby field, taking our Fijian-made brand of goods and services to the world, or leading the fight against climate change. In my extensive travels throughout Fiji, which I will continue to do, Dr. Biman, Honorable Biman Prasad, I get to meet ordinary Fijians and sit down and discuss their everyday opportunities and challenges. And I can tell you one thing, Madam Speaker, they are not interested in petty arguments or political point scoring. They are interested in service delivery overall. They talk about their needs, their wants, their demands, and about where service delivery can improve. They are not interested in unscrupulous politicians who try and create divisions for their short-term political gain. They want competent service delivery. They want long-term security, stability, and sound economic development. They want to be connected and they want to be involved, to be the beneficiaries of our nation's progress. As His Excellency the President said in his powerful message to us all, the nation calls on you to do all you can to harness the spirit of our Olympic win, to tap a wonderful sense of unity that has descended on our beloved Fiji, to leave aside petty squabbles, rivalries, division, and grandstanding, and personal and political gain, to use this Parliament as a force to propel us forward to the greatness we glimpsed in Rio, and which, with Almighty God's help, will be our nation's future. Madam Speaker, I commend these words to the House and thank His Excellency for his wisdom and guidance. Thank you, Madam Speaker.